Welcome to the Tourism and OCTAX meeting. We'll start off with the OCTAX part. I'd like to have a motion to approve the minutes of the May 23rd meeting. Ms. Wood. Anybody else? Second?
Second.
Thank you.
I was leaning on front.
All right, I'm sorry, did you have a question?
We didn't talk OCTAX at the 27th, at the June 27th?
We combined them. I think there was one item on the agenda. So it was on my tourism agenda that day.
Yes,
Okay.
that was for the treasure.
Okay.
Yeah, we didn't have anything else.
I'm only going what's written here, you know? Thank you.
We didn't.
All right, so all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passed, okay. Report by the treasurer, and I don't see the treasurer here, and I don't think he's gonna be here. Okay, so we'll have to move on. Action agenda. We need a motion to approve the, next quarter of the, $75,000 that goes to this, Civic Center.
I think they're here to make a report.
You want to, Jeff, would you like to make a report first?
Good morning, everyone. We're here, we've been coming quarterly, starting this year, so, we sent in our latest report for both the use of the funds from last quarter and the needed funds for the upcoming quarter, and I hope you all got a copy of that. Jeff can talk a little bit more about the specifics of the events that were contained in that report.
Yeah, hello. For second quarter, we had a couple of big events, the Garden Brothers Circus, which we had in April. We had 2 shows. It drew 3,150 people, which was almost double from the previous circus we had about a year ago. So that was a good evening. Justin Moore, country artist, we had about 2,950 people showed up for that country show. It's been a couple months ago now. So those are the 2 big events we had in quarter 2. We certainly had a lot of Thunder hockey games, and we had 5 home playoff games for the Thunder, which hopefully you all got to see a little bit of. We had many Heritage Hall events as well for quarter 2. So that's what we did quarter 2, and I know we asked for the money mainly for the Justin Moore and Garden Brothers Circus show. So that was quarter 2. Upcoming in July through September, we recently had the Newsboys, a Christian rock show, July 1st. We had about 1,750 people showed up for that show. The WWE was there last Sunday, which was it was a big show for us. I won't get into too many names, but John Cena, who was probably the biggest name in the world for wrestling, was there. He hosted the ESPYs, and I didn't see it this morning, but I know he hosted the Today Show. He was one of the co-hosts, so it was a big event. 3,500 customers showed up for that show. It was a great event. Ice is going in as we speak right now. We start with on ice next Monday. We have Overtime Hockey Camp. That's our biggest customer this summer. They rented just a bunch of ice. They used to skate down in Saratoga. We put the ice in this summer, so they'll be there. They have a big commitment. We have AYHA, the youth group, will be there this summer as well. The Glens Falls High School hockey team, called the Rivermen now, with Sauk Glens Falls and Hudson Falls, they have a commitment there. And we believe, it's not official, that Glenn Murkowski is going to do some on-ice events as well this summer. We're trying to finalize that deal. So we went in about a month earlier this year for ice than we did last year, and hopefully we think the commitment from Overtime Hockey will make it a success. So if you come down, the new logo for the All-Star Games in the ice looks pretty cool, I would say. September 9th, we just announced Big Time Wrestling is coming to the Civic Center. Again, Hacksaw Jim Duggan will be there, the Glens Falls native, amongst other people. Sting, which is, I'm not sure if this crowd follows wrestling or not, but he used to be one of the biggest names in the world, so he'll be there as well. September 17th, Make America Rock Again. It's a hard rock 7-band festival. Will be in Glens Falls. And then September 30th, George Thorogood will headline a show with the Edgar Winter Band in Glens Falls that night. We will announce what I consider a big concert August 3rd, and we'll go on sale August 5th. Unfortunately, I'm not allowed to name the event, but it should be a pretty good show for October as well. Then into the arena updates. The audio system it's completed. We're going through the punch list now. We got a few items we want to rectify, but it was on for the WWE, and I think the quality compared to what we had in the past is tremendous. So hopefully you all get to enjoy that in the fall. We selected a video board last Tuesday when we have a notice to proceed with the company. So as soon as we finalize the contract, we'll do a press release and let you all know who it's gonna be, but it will be a tremendous upgrade to the Civic Center. I think, personally, I think it'll change the whole arena when you're sitting in there. It'll be 4 modern video boards right in the middle of the arena. All the areas you walk down into the portal areas will have LEDs as well, so there'll be motion, new cameras, et cetera, et cetera. So it should, give the whole arena a whole new look. So we're excited. It was about a 9-month process to get to a board we were comfortable with. So we're excited. Wednesday we start painting those girders, those ugly yellow beams that haven't been painted since 1979. So that starts Wednesday. And then we have a few other items that we're going to try to tackle before we get into the October hockey season again. So that's going along. And certainly in the basement, we are working with an architect to renovate all the locker rooms in the basement, shower, toilet areas, et cetera, which again need a little bit of love. So that's kind of what's been going on at the Civic Center. We're certainly working on first quarter 2017 events as well for some concerts and trying to fill a couple holes in December. So that's what's going on right now at the Civic Center.
We've got a few members of the coalition here today, so I don't know if you have questions for us or anything.
Anybody have some questions? Rachel?
I do. I'm looking at these reports, and obviously I can see that your fall event, it would be difficult to tell us the number of attendings or the number of overnights until it happens. But I'm wondering if perhaps I'm just missing a page, because the April 1 through June 30th, the Justin Moore and the circus, is there an after-action report that does list the other fund, like, that you have here in this chart, the attendance, the number of overnights, the marketing ads, the all funding, and the other?
We have never done that. We've always submitted a post-report, performance report in this format. The only items that were missing were total attendance, which I didn't have when I had submitted this, so Jeff just gave the update on attendance for Justin Moore and Garden Brothers. If you'd like to see it more in that format, I'd be happy to do that.
Well, I'm just, since it's on this form, and most of the things
Right.
are...
The forms go with the agreement that we did originally. So early on, there were set requirements under the agreement between us. So I generated both reports based on those agreements. And if you look at the agreement, it says these categories should be in your upcoming events and these categories should be in your performance. Again, I'd be happy to do them the same, give whatever information you're looking for. In our performance reports, we've only put these types of information on them.
So the performance report only requires the total cost?
Like number of
Am I
attendees.
missing something? It's all blank.
That's right.
That's for upcoming.
Right, but I mean, is there a completed one for the previous one that is in this format?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
So when
So
it says
Justin
see
Moore-
attached, is it just that our county didn't attach it and you submitted it? Does somebody else have it and I'm missing it?
No, we
I think
just got the
the
2
question
pages.
is,
Mhm.
what performance do all those blanks get filled out?
Oh, not always. No, only if we have the information.
Okay.
Again, the agreement says if that information is available, you can put it in, but it's not required. So we listed on here, for example, Make America Rock Again, we don't know the number of attendance or overnight accommodations at this point.
I understand, I'm just going, I get that, but I'm just wondering, is there one that talks about Justin Moore or Garden Brothers that has those boxes still in?
The answer is no.
Okay.
We've never done that, but we can absolutely do that if you'd like to see it in that format.
I just think it's great information to have. I think it really supports your vision and what you're doing. I think you guys are working hard and bringing a lot of great events and tourism and really promoting the Civic Center. It would be nice to be able to give you credit where credit's due and for us to have that information.
Okay. We always
But
put
I'm
it-
just one person. I don't know if anybody else wants it or not. Just me?
Well, I don't think
No,
I don't think it'd be a lot of
disagree.
work for you
Yeah, I don't disagree.
to
We
put a little bit
always
more
put
information.
attendance, except this last report, we didn't have it. So Jeff gave the filler now. I don't disagree. Attendance, if we have the overnight accommodations, I'd be happy to throw it in. And I can use this format, that's no problem. We don't have a lot of government funding other than what we get here. We don't get a grant for these things, so that column is always blank. Other funding, we don't have that. So you'll see a lot of blanks continue, but for the information we have, I'd be happy to put it in this format.
All right, I think I had a question, Ms. Bremer? Yes.
I just wanted to know if the
Can you
Charles
speak up a little, please?
if the Charles Evans Fusion event on the Civic Center's radar for October. I know that that's kind of
Yeah, we spoke to Amy a little bit from the city, but we've talked to Dan Steck's office as well, as trying to help promote that event and maybe tying it in with the George Thorogood, event at the end of September. So yes, it is on our radar.
All right, we'll move along. Yes, Mr.
So, at these events, you gave total attendance, how did that rack up to what your expectations were for those two events?
Newsboys, it was right where we thought it would be. Justin Moore was a little bit less than we had hoped for, and WWE was better than we had hoped for. So maybe that means we need more wrestling shows at the Civic Center. So, but all in all, for and maybe the biggest thing for Newsboys and WWE is, and when I say historically, at least the last number of years, we haven't done much in the summertime at the Civic Center. It's kind of been an empty building. So those two events, Newsboys was good. At the WWE, it was a great event. And now that we're gonna have ice for the whole month of August, keeps the building active and full, and trying to keep people coming to the Civic Center. So that's kind of the goal of what we did this summer, and certainly, to make the events worthwhile. So.
All right, any other questions? All right, we'll go back to the resolution now. We need a resolution to approve the $75,000 to move forward to this quarter's, for the Civic Center. Mr. Dickinson? Mr. Stroud, second. Any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? It's passed.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, the next resolution, I'm gonna let Lisa, when she gets that signed.
Really bad. Ready to sign a date?
All right, the next resolution is to appropriate $83,393 from the tax reserve. I'll let Lisa explain what that is, so people understand where it's coming from and what it's for.
We make two distributions to the towns. Towns get back 25% of what's collected. We make two distributions. The first distribution that's made in 2016 is made in June, and that's based on the final numbers for 2015. So you've all received your checks for that based on how it's collected in your town. So the second distribution made during the year is an initial distribution for 2016. That's done in October, and every municipality gets $30,000. So because the county collected $333,000 plus in 2015 over what was collected in 2014, we're shy $83,393 to make that $30,000 payment to everyone in October. So that's what we're requesting out of the reserve, to make the $30,000 payment.
What's the balance in the reserve?
It's well over, I don't have that figure, the treasurer's not here. Oh, wait a minute, yes I do. Hold on. There is $1,927,000 over the million designated reserve.
Okay, thank you.
Over the designated reserve.
There's a designated reserve of $1 million.
All right, any other questions on that? Can I get a motion? Mr. Dickinson, Ms. Frazier, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passed. All right, approved to the floor to discuss additional items to come before the committee. Anybody from the floor have anything else about OCTAX? All right, there's no old business pending. I'm sorry?
I thought we had somebody here on to talk to us.
I guess they left. Okay. No old business, present, motion to adjourn the OCTAX portion and move right into tourism. Mr. Dixon, Mr. Stroud, all in favor? All right, we'll move right into tourism here. I need a motion to accept the minutes of June 27, 2016. Ms. Wood? Simpson? Any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Action agenda.
The
Joanne, you
first,
wanna start with the
resolution
resolutions?
is, to print Tanya's group travel planner. She's changed up the layout a little bit this year. She has an increased number of advertisers. So we've chosen the lowest bidder, and we just need a resolution to move forward with that.
Ms. Wood? I see none. Mr. Simpson? Thank you. Any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passed. Number 2.
The second is for the web redesign. We probably could have come back to our committee last month, but we wanted enough time to fully review. There were 9 requests or responses to the RFP that went out. So we took quite a long time to do that, and between both Peter and I and Julian Purchasing, we all narrowed it down to 2 vendors. There is a comparison sheet for each of the supervisors so that they can see the point system. And it was really close. I think either of the 2 that we highlighted in green would do a really good job for us. You know, some of it is, you read through it and you just get a good feel that a certain company is going to do a good job for you. They have a good understanding, they know the technology, they're on the cutting edge. So between the 3 of us, we did all agree on ad workshop. So we would like to, we're excited to get moving on that website redesign with Advertisers Workshop, if you are in agreement with that.
Any questions on, yes, Mr.
On the,
Liggett?
format there between WordPress or the Drupal, is there an advantage over one or the other?
WordPress is a little bit more ubiquitous, and what we wanted to do with the proposal is make sure we got the best talent to take a crack at this bid. So we started with WordPress, but some other people were interested in the work, some other companies, and they called in and said, look, Drupal is just as good. It's a solid platform. We have a lot of good clients on that as well. Is the bid open to that? And we got thinking about it internally, and we said, you know, if we're changing the format to WordPress to open us up to talent, we should also, you know, not limit it to just WordPress, open it up to Drupal as well to get the best pool of talent. So it was open to both platforms. Both are solid. We currently run Drupal, and in all honesty, it's been fantastic for us in the past. The only little hiccup we had is when the one company we had a contract with was purchased by another company, and then that kind of fizzled out. So the Drupal platform has been wonderful, still continues to be wonderful, and I hope that, and I think we will get, you know, the best talent to be working on it now.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
How's this gonna jibe with any reports that may come down or recommendations from BBG&G?
Well, by the time this actually gets to the full board and we sit down and start discussing it, we could certainly have Debbie come in and weigh in on that. I was going to report a little bit later on that she'll probably have her report back to us in September, so the timing is really close. And I know that she does, a lot of what her firm does is evaluate websites and make suggestions and recommendations on that. So we could certainly ask her, you know, for her insight at that stage of the game when we sit down, or have her join us.
Yeah, I think,
Okay, that would be good. I mean, yeah.
and now you have 2 experts looking at it. So she's looking at it for like in a countywide analytical perspective, and you also have a team of people highly qualified looking at it, pouring through metrics, SEO stuff, data, how users are navigating through our site. So you're going to have 2 people looking at it and saying, these are the best things you can do. So the building will probably happen before the official report comes in and says this is what you can sink your teeth into. But the building doesn't, it's not a one and done. It's a 3-year process of constantly being on the cutting edge. So we'll factor in everything she says that makes sense, and hopefully have the best consumer-friendly website that we could possibly have.
Well, that sounds good.
And part of the ad workshop proposal did have a plan for growth, which we liked. So
there's the initial $35,000 that will get the website up and running, and then as we move into next year and a renewal, then we can look at step 2 or step 3, and they had some good ideas for that we're just not ready to jump into at this point.
Okay, Mr. Dickinson.
What happened to our request for the statistical analysis that we promised everybody?
So you haven't been here in a couple of weeks, or, months, but, well, no, we've reported a little bit, I don't mean to say it that way. I think that Debbie and BBG&G understand that we really want that statistical data. We want the comparison to our peer sets. We want to look at their off-tax collections. We want to look at how they're spending that money, our peer sets, what their return on investment is, what their staffing is like, how they operate. And initially there was some concern that she would not be able to provide that, so there was part 2 to the motion. And I think that the scope was a little bit more than Debbie thought it was going to be, but she's really trying to give us what she wants. And
I didn't feel that way. I agreed to hire BBG&G because we were going out to get the statistical analysis.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't feel that BBG&G were qualified to give us the statistical analysis that not only I was looking for, but the hoteliers as well. So are you telling me we've dropped that whole thing?
I don't think that we've dropped it, and it's
But
still on the table. Debbie has spent,
So you're talking about BBG&G doing it?
well, I think that we would like to see what she's going to come back with. I think that she's done more than she thought she would when she came and gave her initial presentation. She's spoken with some of the major players, Sam at the Fort, Kathy at the Fort, and Frank Dietrich several times. She's spoken with many of the supervisors around the table. So I do think that she's gone above and beyond what she presented to us when she came in for her interview.
Joanne, that's not the point. The point was that I strongly felt they weren't qualified. I wanted somebody who was more qualified to generate that data. Now we're patching this together. It seems to me we've almost violated our contract. I mean, now we're asking her to do stuff that wasn't in the original proposal, that other people didn't have an opportunity to do. The second thing, the most important thing, is what I said firstly, is that I really wanted to get a separate company to do the statistics. And that was, as you well said, part of that agreement to hire BBG&G, that we were going to go out and get another firm to do the statistics. And that's what I want to see done.
But we did discuss that, let's get hers back from first. Let's see what she gives us, and then go out and get what we need, what doesn't come to us, or what's not agreed to in the contract with her.
I think you're asking an ass to do a horse's job. I disagree. We should have somebody on board now that should be working together with BBG&G. So now instead of doing it in parallel, we're going to be doing it in series. We're going to have them do their thing, and then sit around and twiddle our thumbs while we're waiting for the financials to come, or the statisticals to come back. This is not what I thought we were doing. This is not what I voted on for us to do.
Rachel?
You know, as you know, I was the lonely no vote at the full board meeting on this, and I agree with Dennis. When we talked about this, and I think if we go back and look at the video, it was, let's get the contract rolling with her, but at the same time, let's get that second piece for the data going, so that we didn't have to wait for the BB&G, but that we would get rolling on the proposal for the data, so that we could combine the two together. So I agree with Dennis's frustration, and I think that that's what our community's been asking us for, is that data that we had hoped that we would be able to couple with the BB&G report. So I was under the same impression from when we first awarded that contract.
I take back what I was thinking about.
Whatever. I'm over it.
So, to kind of bridge the gap here, where we're currently at is Proposal 1 was supposed to do what she could do within her scope. Where there were deficiencies identified during the process is where scope number 2 was supposed to come in, right? So if someone's saying, please look at this data, and she says that's outside of my scope, then that's a little thing that we put down for scope number 2. scope number 2 concludes. Currently, and everywhere in the field she's gone, she's asked people, what specific types of data do you want me to report on? Everything that they've requested of her has been included in the thing. So that the data that people want, the hard numbers, so far has been included. There has been no identifying factor that says that is outside of my scope, that is something that I have no capabilities of acquiring. You're looking at Smith travel trends. While it was outside of her parameters, the county was able to purchase every single Smith travel trend report that she wanted, numerous travel trend reports, and provide it to her. The county's still under the position that if there's any area that she is deficient in, we will have the scope number 2 cover that. I think part of the problem is that it is stretched out over a long period of time here where she's collecting data. But this isn't an ill will thing. This isn't trying to handicap her presentation. It's still, I think we're steadfast in adhering to what you're looking for. Having her do the initial survey, talk to people, and these people that she's talking to, asking them specifically, what data do you want me to collect? Nowhere has there been any deficiency in that. She's collected the data, received the data that she's looking for.
Peter, that's all well and good, and you make a good argument, but I don't like it. We looked, one of the things I looked at, that we looked at in that whole process was the staffing. They didn't have any staffing for any kind of statistical analysis.
Correct.
None, zero.
Correct, I agree.
Absolutely none. You can collect all the statistics you want, but if you don't have anybody to analyze them, and then come back to us, the county, and say, gee, you're missing the boat here, you should be doing this, or you should be over here, or you're spending too much money there. They don't have that ability. So the time they're spending collecting that data, they're wasting their time. They need to do what we contracted with them to do, and we need to get on and get a contract with somebody that can actually do the statistical analysis. Not collect it, analyze it.
Okay.
That's the trick.
Okay. So perhaps do we start the process ASAP then to look at a company that can the problem that we're having.
We did that, Peter. I mean, before I disappeared off the face of the earth, we were getting a proposal together to send out to get back RFPs, and it just I went away, it went away.
I think so. Certainly some of the hang-up came in just trying to understand from a perspective of the Lodging Association. I guess you're right. We need to analyze the data, and we're told by BBG&G that they can do that if the data is provided to them. So we haven't found any area that they said, no, that's not anything we can do. I agree that they didn't have anybody on staff when we reviewed the proposal, but they did assure us that the previous engagement they had with a different county, the data, some sort of data analysis was done by a third party, company that we looked at, and they said that all the data and the metrics that they went over was nothing outside of what they couldn't handle internally.
I just think we're not on the same wavelength here. You get somebody in here who is an analyst, and they know what to look for, and they know why they're looking for it. You get somebody that's not, they're just going out and collecting data. Oh, you need this data, okay, I'll go get that. That's not the point. You're supposed to have somebody come in and advise us, you know, you don't need all that stuff, but you should look for this data over here, or the trend lately has been to do something different. That's really what we want. We just don't want people going around collecting numbers. We want people to tell us what numbers we should be collecting, and not necessarily the hoteliers, and why we're doing that. I think we missed you missed what I thought we were doing by a long shot. I really thought this was an opportunity to get somebody in here who is a statistician and can statistically analyze where we, Warren County, are and where we should be going. And I don't think we're doing that with them. These people are into advertising, and I'm not selling BBG&G short by any stretch of the imagination. They're doing a wonderful job, but they're doing a wonderful job in what they're qualified to do. And now we've got them doing things on the fringe of what they should be doing. And I'm not happy about it. I can tell you that right now.
So Dennis, I'm sorry, in that regard, I will admit that we let that go. I was thinking that when Debbie came to me and said, Joanne, I want to do everything that your committee wants of me, and I want to answer A, B, C, D, E, F, G, and I'm gonna give you the best job that I can. And I said, okay, Debbie, and we talked about it, all of us, let's go ahead and get that information and talk to our business folks and our stakeholders and see what they want, and Peter and I have just said this again. And if that's the direction, we're happy to move in that direction. The motion is still on the table, it's open, there's money in it.
I'm not, Joanne, criticizing you or the tourism department. You've done a great job. You've done a great job with BBG&G. Criticizing ourselves here and losing focus on where we're going. And that really was the basis for it. When I voted for that proposal, I was expecting this, and still am.
The only thing I can...
By the committee and by this, we're putting in a tremendous amount of money and time and effort into this.
Oh, yeah.
So we wanna do the right thing.
And the only thing I can bring up is that we're involved with the business group that started this, and they've been right up front with us, and they're happy with what's going on right now. And, I think we should just hold, 3 more months, 5 more months is not gonna make the world come to an end for us. I would really like to see what this company, they've been out, they've talked to business people, they've talked to supervisors, they talked to that business group a couple of times, and they're all kinda in the game with, let's keep moving the way we're doing it. Now, if anything, what you would like different, I have no problem with it. We could go out and make up a new RFP and go out and take care of that stuff. But I think it was just twofold, putting the cart before the horse. Yes, Rachel?
Gene, maybe we're talking to different business people within the community, but what I'm hearing is not as glowing of a recommendation and a happy outcome as
Who are
you're
you
talking
hearing
about.
this
Hear
from?
me out.
Who are you hearing this from?
We have an advisory group. I don't know why we're not meeting with them. I don't know why we're not taking advantage of the expertise within our community. My concern is that we don't know the questions that we're not asking. We need an expert in the data that comes in, like Dennis said, and said, all these things are what you should be collecting. This is what you should be looking at, giving us direction versus us giving our consultants the direction. I think that there was supposed to be a 2-part effort here, and that seems to be what's missing. So I, for one, if that's how, I know that's how we talked about it in the beginning, I'd love to see that process start. It should be going on, and I would really appreciate including that advisory group, because I think if we include them from the beginning, we're gonna have a much better RFP that we can request. I think we're gonna really know what the people who are generating the occupancy tax are looking for.
Well, I'm getting stumped here. What advisory group is formed right now, other than the Business Alliance from Lake George?
Well, I think that the Lodging Owners Association.
The Lodging Owners Association.
But it's my understanding, we used to have a Warren County Tourism Advisory Group as it related to the occupancy tax, made up of, you and I have talked about this, Gene, about reigniting that I didn't know it was ever dissolved, but I do understand they haven't met in several years.
Well, but we're working with this other, the business group of Lake George. That's what's rolling us along here.
Right, but isn't there a Warren County Advisory Group for tourism?
I do recall.
There was one a while ago, but...
They've been asking to reignite this for
Who's
some
they?
time.
What?
So the Lodging Association.
Wait, slow down. Who's they? Nobody's come to me.
Gene, I have come to you.
Not you, I'm talking about the group. Who is the
I've given you
group?
their information, Kevin Markham, Frank
I
Dietrich.
spoke to him, yes, we did speak, but they're not pushing us right now as much as you're saying they are, and maybe I'm taking it wrong, so I will take a little responsibility for that. But we're working with a group of 70 or 80 business people right now.
And they're all giving you glowing recommendations.
No, I didn't say that, but they're being kept up on everything that's going on. I meet with them, I just met with them the other day. We try, these guys have been meeting with them, so we're working on this. You keep saying this group.
Well, as of this weekend, I've heard that there's problems.
From who?
Gene, we can talk, I just named people for you, I just talked about the advisory group.
Why don't they call me then?
Gene,
I would like to know.
I have asked you to respond to them.
And I did. Wait a minute, Rachel. Slow down. Every time you told me somebody wanted to speak to me, I got in touch with them and we talked.
So where's the advisory group?
But we didn't talk about getting this group together yet. We're waiting for this report to come out.
Well, I guess we're gonna be waiting for a while, for that and for data.
Okay, well, yes.
I just think at this point, we should move forward with the direction that we're going in, and then when we find, let's hear what at least the group has to say to us, and then decide, okay, if we need to go out for the RFP, I'm happy with that. I also don't like the fact that it sounds like we're not involving the business people, and they're the ones who started this whole thing in the first place. It was like, we wanna cater to the business group, but forget about Warren County tourism as a whole. So I guess at this point, I just think we should continue on the path that we're going, Gene, and like you said, if we wait 3 or 4 months, what difference does it make at this
Oh,
point?
don't say that word, that's what Hillary said one time.
Oh, well, you're right, I shouldn't say that, but anyway, I
I'm
just
not
think
saying that, I'm
sometimes-
just saying, I mean, this is something that we knew was gonna take a year. I mean, you know, we just can't be jumping in and getting, I mean, I'll do anything you guys want, but the group that we started this with, 8, 9 months ago, maybe longer, so far are liking what we're doing. Now, if there's certain ones we can't please everybody and get everybody's, total agreement, that's just even with this committee. But we are working on it, and we're working on it very hard.
Not to sugarcoat anything, but certainly anybody that was in that lodging association, which then kind of broadened to become more of a tourism association by including attractions and campground, have had a heavy hand in any of the meetings and data collection that BBG has. So they've been multiple meetings with some big players in this area, trying to get them out to everybody. So everybody's been included. Is it as much as they'd like? I guess we're hearing possibly not, but every effort is being made to include people that were in this process from the beginning, that started the lodging association, and they've had a heavy hand in every step of this, from cultivating it, to providing data, to directing them currently. So to think that they're just out there not participating is inaccurate.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, what was our resolution on, are we following the resolutions that we passed? I think that's really what should be at issue here. There's always other ways of doing it. So maybe we could check on that and make sure that we are upholding our end of the bargain by what this committee passed on. The full board approved, and if we're within those limits, then we stay that course until there's another resolution to change. Also, about data, I'm in support of BBG's proposal that data without context is near worthless, and BB&G, I felt in their RFP, would provide the context to be able to look at that data and get it pointed in the direction we would need.
And I believe fully that's what's gonna happen. I mean, there'll be, 90%, 85% of what we're looking for will happen. We wanna move ahead with something else, I have no problem, but I think it's, a little early. We got until about September, another month and a half, and we should have what we're looking for, and then from there, we'll make the decisions. You guys will make the decisions. So.
Well, and
So.
what I'm hearing from Gene and Edna is what I've heard before, is that we will move in your direction, but this step will make it clear in what direction we need to move in. There was even some reasoning for this among the hotel people.
Well, that's my point. They stepped back a little bit and said,
Yeah.
okay,
And let's see what
let's
this
go,
does.
and that's the way we've been taking it now. If
And
there's
the wording-
other business people out there that are,
The wording was that this
let them come here and talk
might
to
give
us.
us a better platform to jump to the next stage. So I think we can get to where Dennis wants to go.
I believe so too.
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of we've had a lot of meetings. I've spent a lot of time. This was over last week, the same thing. I run over there every time they call me and try to get back to Joanne and Peter, and we discuss it. It's not that we're not talking to them, but I haven't heard, and so unless somebody comes here and tells me what right here on the speaker, oh no, I didn't say that, or you're not doing what I wanted you to do, then I will, make my moves to do something different. But I've heard from a lot of the business people, and I'm keeping in contact with them, because we never did before, and they're very happy with it. Now, there might be a couple that are not. I can't guarantee everybody's on board with everything we do. But I believe fully, they're not as, it's a lot better meetings that we're having now than then you're not doing this, you're not doing this, you're not doing this, you're not doing this type of meeting. You know, where now everybody, and they're quicker and we're getting things done. So if there's a couple of people out there, I'll talk to them personally, I'll bring them in. I have no problem with that. But I just don't like, well, I'm hearing this and this is, let the people come here. Let them call me. I'll try to work with anybody that wants to work with me.
Well, get back to the website redevelopment proposal.
All right,
I'm
I did
sorry.
see another hand before we moved on. You have,
Amy Johnson, City Gonzalez. When this matures and you do have a matrix of data collection and the way you wanna collect it, you will share that with the entire county so that we're all on the same page and it'll be consistent, because it's an issue that has addressed the city with our data. It's very dated, excuse me, and you know, if we're looking at what type of data we should be collecting. So, this exercise will help, you know, all of the communities, I think, immensely.
well, we just had a nice meeting with the mayor, so that everybody knows this. And it was very productive, and the mayor didn't know half the things that we do.
Absolutely.
And he admitted to us, so we're lining up a program for first week or second week of September to go and see the common council and the mayor, so they understand what we're doing. The mayor didn't know half of the stuff that this tourism department does for Glens Falls,
No, and
because he doesn't read the magazines or does read all the publicity that we do, and there's nobody that goes to him from here and say, hey, Mayor, this is what's going on. That's why I believe the mayor should be involved in this board of supervisors, so that, because they don't get the information, and he kinda, said it to us.
thank you, Jeremy.
And we're gonna do we're working on it now, a whole program at one of their, either a special meeting or one of their meetings, to catch them up on, because we do a lot of advertising on the culture, on the theater, on the museums, but he didn't even realize we did that for them. So
Right.
I think
Well,
so we are working on this stuff, so I don't know where,
No, it's like visiting Hyde and not knowing, what exhibits they're gonna do, so we won't talk anymore, but I just wanna thank you for speaking.
all right, we'll move on. Yes, we're gonna go back to,
Okay, can I ask a question about the proposed new website design?
yes, go ahead.
Which would be, ad workshop is what you're proposing that they be awarded the bid.
Correct.
And option 2,
Actually, under
Option
option,
one.
option one.
option 1. Okay, so 35,000.
And then, hosting fees, so, a little further down, you get to rent space for your site every month, so that hosting package is pretty competitive as well.
And they scored the highest, they scored 94 out of 100.
Correct, and the next closest was 92, beyond that, they dropped down to 75.
And it,
Below
to
the
go
quarter.
not to include,
Uncompetitive completely.
to include the additional things that they have. So there's the $35,000 for the web redesign, some hosting fees, and the amount that we would have, in that website redesign code would be up to, but not to exceed $60,000. So after the website redesign is done, next year, we can look into, they proposed a content hub or additional SEO services, which are not part of the redesign. So the resolution would include that, and we have that money in our budget.
Okay. Rachel?
I know that in the past we talked, and I don't know if it's part of this proposal or not, about your social media, existence and how you've been getting so much traffic on that. Within this proposal, will that include someone to be responding and answering all of those inquiries, or is that a different proposal?
Different proposal.
And will we
Trampoline
be
is
seeing that
still-
soon?
Well, Trampoline is still on board until June of next year.
So they are responding to all the social media inquiries, you're not?
In conjunction with us, it's split,
Yeah.
and then we have, at the last board, there was approval to, fill 2 positions. Those 2
Right.
positions could also augment that as well, while we kind of sort out where our new growth is.
I recall that, my concern after speaking with Jackie from HR about the new law that's being, implemented in the fall is, you know, if these are going to be answered on the weekends and the evenings, or what's your response time in answering those, which is, we know is very important on social
Correct.
media. We could be looking at astronomical overtime costs, and I think it's more fiscally responsible for us to be looking at a contract with an entity that already has that in place.
I think, yes, absolutely, but what we can do is, as we staff up and solve current needs, we can shift that contract with Trampoline to cover areas that we now are the new needs, so after hours or weekends to prevent that, you know, overtime salary coming out. So, their contract exists for, I think, 3 years with a renewal each year, right? So, at the end of next year, when we're situated, we could say, we want to terminate this contract, not because you're not doing a fantastic job, but we just want to repurpose it a little bit. And that might be the nights and weekends, or more bodies at shows, or have a bigger presence at, you know, civic whatever we deem appropriate, we'll then evaluate that contract and kind of have them fill the stopgap.
Yeah, I guess my concern is, as that new law approaches, that you're in touch with Jackie and figure out, you know, if it's better to add on an additional contract at that time, because I think that's gonna be a huge, huge issue.
Yeah, I think we were talking to her today this morning about it, and it does seem.
Yeah, just this morning, we actually exchanged a message about that, and, she said that she was gonna review all positions actually within the county that might fall into that situation. And I think there's a possibility of flex time and comp time, so we just need to look carefully at what those assignments would be.
What's your positions?
So Sue from our department, who was doing kind of mostly mail stuff and a little bit of database stuff, took a job over in another department. So that was a vacant position, and we thought that we could get more value out of that by reclassifying it as someone that can do social media and
Creative content
creative
writing.
content. So that position already existed, we're just repurposing it for better value. And then the vacancy left when Joanne moved to director, and her position, assistant coordinator, is a straight backfill. So we're gonna refill that. And that person could also do, again, a jack of all trades type person, social media, a little bit of content, office management, assist
So
with
they're
certain things.
not new positions to the budget, it's funds that were in the budget, but especially with Sue gone, we were down 2 people in the
Yeah.
office, and it's a really small office, and we were feeling
I have the copies if you want to read
No,
them.
I just playing a little catch-up here, Gene.
Yeah.
I thought, when we started reviewing this whole tourism thing, I'm a little disappointed to hear that we're putting more personnel back in and filling vacancies until we find out where we're going with this. I thought that was the whole point of this thing, is to figure out where we are with the Warren County tourism and where we wanna go with it.
Correct. I think that
But
our
me-
staff is at a
while we're
skill
looking at it,
level.
trying to decide which way we're going, we're putting people on board.
We're replacing people.
We're
I mean,
replacing
Well,
people that-
I don't care if you're replacing them, or that's better than making a new job, but, how to put this? I mean, you see the big businesses get bought out, and part of the deal is they go in, they clean them up. They change directions. Well, that's the way I feel about tourism. We have an opportunity here to step back and look at tourism and decide really what we should and should not be doing. And I think it's really premature in that process to be filling vacancies and moving in other directions.
I think in order to meet the current demands of a growing tourism industry, we at least need to, for the tourism department to at least have a chance at success, we need to be at a staff level.
Well, that's why we should have been doing these 2 RFPs parallel instead of in series. Get to the point, figure out where we're going, and do it. We're dragging this thing out, dragging our feet, and diluting what our original intent was. One of the problems that we have here are the legacy costs and the amount of employees we have. So I really thought this was a chance for us to step back and look at this tourism thing and try to figure out. I'm really disappointed that we're filling vacancies, and that's not what I thought we were doing.
Okay, so.
We just can't keep up with the demand in the office right now, and we're all
I know you're
burning the candle at both ends.
Under manpowered, Joanne, I'm not arguing that point. That's why I really felt we should be doing both these things at the same time. These two companies should have been working together from the get-go, in consortium, not in linear, one after another. They go on forever. So if we get to a point where we get to the end of this and they really do what I thought we were gonna do, and they say, okay, you got too many employees for what we should be doing here in Warren County, you put two more on.
Perhaps they will say that, and then at that time, perhaps you can remove them. But in the meantime.
Well, see, that's where you have the problem, Peter.
Yeah, but Dennis,
Not that easy.
you know, and not that I'm trying not to debate it with you, but you gotta understand, we gotta keep moving forward.
Yeah, we should be moving forward with two contracts, not one.
Yeah, but when people leave us that's in the office, we gotta replace them until we find out what's going on, otherwise,
Well,
we're
we
stepping
obviously
backwards.
have two different philosophy here, Gene. I thought we were taking this opportunity to look at the tourism department and decide where our strong points were and our weak points and go that way.
But did
But
you
it's not
look
gonna
at
work if
cutting
we keep
back
even
people?
going. Well, the
Rachel's
thing
got a
is,
big
if you
deal
put them
about
back
social
on,
media, and if you don't hire somebody for that, then how are they dealing with her
if you
social
put them
media
back on,
issue?
well, we should be going faster. If you put them back on, and you decide at a later date that you don't need them.
Do you really see that happening?
You have those.
All right.
I'm sorry, Gene, I'm out of order.
No, we gotta move along here, but,
Yeah, well, the structure of our tourism department, valid discussion, but I thought we were going to vote on whether we wanna go forward with
Website.
ad workshop website.
Right.
Okay? So, I'll make the motion to support the proposal or the agreement with ad workshop for website redesign and in accord with option one. Okay?
can I get a second? Ms. Wood, a second. Any other questions on that resolution? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
I abstain, I wasn't here.
All right. Move on to number 3.
Okay, so,
Joy, number 3.
oh, oh, the CBB agreement, okay. This has already come to the committee before that we had agreed to, we authorized $25,000 per year for, the Lake George Chamber of Commerce CBB to operate the information center. But the way the contract and the resolution were written up, it was a 2-year period of time, so they got $25,000 for 2 years. So we just need to change it to 1 year, and then they can come back again for $25,000 the following year. So I think that it was just a misunderstanding between the minutes and the county attorney's office. The way the contract reads now, they get $12,500 for 1 year, for the next year,
Right.
and then they come back. So it would be to amend the current resolution to be for 1 year, and then to come back to renew again for an additional year.
And that 1 year is to cover the forthcoming year?
Well, it was a
The
mid-year.
2-year is covered last year and this year?
What were the dates on it?
No,
It was mid-year.
Yeah, it's in the
Like
middle of the year,
June to June, June to May 31st.
Right.
So all this is just saying 1 year, and that's okay with Lake George?
Absolutely, Michael actually
Yeah.
caught the.
They're the ones that saw it, called
contract.
me, yes. And we worked with the attorney on it.
Fine. I'll put a motion to support this.
Dennis, thank you for the second. Matt. All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, that's passed. Go ahead, Joanne.
So we should come back to the BBG&G update. So at this point, Debbie has met with business owners, supervisors, and a lot of folks in the community. The last step of her intake is a visitor survey that went out on Friday. She thought that it would take her the month of August to get the report together, and that she would have a report back to us sometime in September. So if we need further discussion on the part 2 at this point in time, do we want to have Deborah come in and talk to her and see if she can weigh in on part 2, wait for her report, move ahead with it now with the business owners? I think there are a couple of things that seem to be on the table.
Well, it might be It might be helpful to have that discussion, it doesn't hurt,
Mhm. With Deborah.
yeah.
Mhm. Actually, she's gonna give me a call this afternoon. And I'm sure she's happy to come back and speak
And
with
if we
the
could
committee
pick up a
and
date early August, and we'll just convene another tourism meeting, different from,
just
you
for
know,
that purpose.
just for that purpose, so people can learn, we'll invite the business people in, and let everybody listen to what the lady has to
Right.
say, and we'll move forward on it.
Yeah,
I think that's the thing to do, have those
I-
key business people come in if that's the
We'll
direction
get a
we're gonna move
date from
in.
her, and then I'll work with the office and see what date we can just have that meeting, you know, and spend a couple hours discussing it, find out. Is that agreeable to the committee, everybody?
Mhm.
Okay.
So Dennis had just come back in.
Dennis, did you hear that? I don't know if
No.
you heard that. We're gonna have the BB&G come in maybe first or second week of August, just to go over everything with the tourism department here, and we'll invite the business people to sit in the audience, and we'll have just a round table discussion, and we'll see, and then we'll make a decision. Not a regular tourism meeting, but just that, for that particular thing.
That's
So
fine.
we'll just set it up with see what dates are available to her, and I'll work with the office to get a date to come in here.
Great, thank you.
All right.
Just in terms, a little bit of, how is the summer going, and there was an article in the paper the other day. We look back at the Smith Trend reports, and if we look at, and we're not looking at occupancy so much because that, depends on, the number of rooms that are available, so it's hard to compare occupancy we have 2/3 as many rooms as Saratoga County or Essex County, so we look at demand. So from, 2015 was obviously our record-breaking year. So when we compare ourselves to last year, we're down 1.7%. We recognize that, it was not a wonderful winter, but numbers are picking up as we move throughout the summer. So demand is the key, we need to have a strong summer, we need to move into a strong fall. When we compare to 2014, which was, when you look at the previous 8 years, we were only down 1.3, we're up 1.3% compared to 2014. So, not as good as last year, but better than our last best year, which was 2014. So there are a lot of factors to consider. There are new rooms coming on the market, there's the Marriott, there's Exit 18, but at this point in time, the demand numbers throughout the summer are growing. We just need to stay on top of that, we need to increase demand, we realize that. And as we look forward to our budget and to the report that comes back, we'll tailor our budget and our marketing plan and our outlook to increase that demand. So, I think at this point, we are looking at a pretty strong summer, and hopefully, we're cautiously optimistic that the rest of the summer will hold that line. I think that's all I have on it.
All right,
Travel?
any other questions? Yes.
What's 1.7%? It's down 1.7%.
Oh,
Give me an example of what 1.7%.
oh,
You should have it there, yeah.
so,
So,
hold on.
demand last year for up to this date, was, the numbers I have ended last quarter, so it doesn't,
Yeah.
factor in July. But demand was, 375,000, and then this year it is, 369,000.
Room demand.
Yeah, room demand.
For those properties that subscribe to that
Right.
trend report.
Thank you.
So,
And it depends, it's property to property, and some are up and they're having a great summer, and, historically, we find that right after 4th of July, there's a little bit of a dip, or midweek is a little bit soft.
Yep.
But those properties that are, advertising themselves or reinvesting, I talked to Chuck from Stepping Stones, he said, I'm booked all summer, so some people are, you'll hear different stories from different properties.
and our peer group, that has kind of, been cultivated through talking with the private sector and some of the market data research that we do ourselves, includes Saratoga Springs, Dauphin County, Essex County, all down as well, in and about the same percentage points. So it's not unique to us. Certainly we fare better than Albany County and Syracuse. But everybody seemed to have that lag in the first quarter and have started to make up for it in the later part of spring and early summer. So I think we'll have a really good understanding of where we sit at the end of this next quarter. And again, like Joanne said, cautiously optimistic.
But we do recognize that challenge. New rooms are coming on the market, so we need to increase the demand. And so when it's budget time, or we'll have our plan in place.
One stat that I think it's important to point out, and numbers are never discussed here as much, and I'd like to start doing that a little bit more. But someone like Essex County, who we're constantly getting compared against, has a larger budget for tourism than we do, and comparatively less rooms. So they peak at 50,000 rooms and have a budget that's larger than us. We peak at 200,000 rooms, and our budget's less than that. Their staffing budget is more than double ours, right? So that their priority, the emphasis on tourism up there, and they're still achieving the same types of numbers we have at a reduced, scale. So 30,000, 40,000 rooms, they're off a little bit of percent. But if they have an event there, right, an event that generates, like a Civic Center event that generates 3,000 room nights, that's going to swing the pendulum percentage-wise wildly compared to 3,000 rooms for us. That's a drop in the bucket for us. 3,000 rooms is still wonderful to acquire, but in this grand scheme of 200,000 rooms available, it's not going to move the needle. So that's where there's a little discrepancy in some of these Smith Travel Trends reports, that when you compare us against Saratoga, Saratoga could have an event that, again, smaller amount of rooms, and that can move the needle in a weekend. Whereas us, we're a large behemoth, and as nimble as we try to be, it's just hard to get that, needle to sway as quickly as they can do it. So I think overall, the health of the county, where we stand competitively, is all very reasonable, and it's all pretty much similar across the board.
Mr. Montesio.
Before we get on to the next subject, I just wanted a general observation. You had mentioned that the mayor really wasn't aware of a lot that's going on. And I would challenge you and our county chairman. There isn't one person on this committee from the city. I mean, that may be one of the reasons why that communication that gap is there.
Could be. That's Rachel.
Just in response to Supervisor Montesi, I know that we have Supervisor McDonald that attends the common council meetings. He communicates with them regularly. He invited them to the last year's meeting. And he did, in fact, also mention that there wasn't a Glens Falls rep on this committee. But I don't think it's fair to say that, people from up here aren't sharing with the city what's going on. Maybe they aren't hearing the right message. Maybe they're not hearing what we're saying. But I think that anytime you watch our meetings on TV, you watch the committee meetings on YouTube, Amy's been here quite a bit, I think there is definitely an effort to educate the mayor and the common council about what goes on with our tourism department. So I think there has to be ownership on both sides, and certainly we have representatives from this board working very hard to communicate that information to the city. But that's a very good point.
All right, thanks, Ron. All right, let's move on. Group tours, Tanya?
Okay, I just, as it relates to the approved resolution for the print of the group travel planner, Joanne had mentioned that we typically do a redesign every year, but we had 5 more advertisers this year, and we did increase the attractions pages from 1/4 to 1/2, so that does increase our page numbers. We went from 20 to 32 this year, and that's not only advertisers, but we're going to do a little bit more in the redesign as far as including the original vacation story. That's going to be a 2-page spread. I think I'm adding 4 new itineraries, and we're going to do a spread of group-friendly events. So there'll be some changes. As far as the itineraries, which is really what tour operators are looking for, is the itineraries. Obviously, that helps them be able to sell our area. I've included a few new ones as they relate to new events and new attractions. I'm going to do a Maple Weekend itinerary for both Thurman and Lake Luzerne. I'm going to do a regional itinerary, which is going to include like hub and spoke from staying in Lake George, doing classic attractions in Lake George, but then, doing day trips out to whether it be Saratoga or Lake Placid, because a lot of operators are looking for that type of experience. A new culinary throughout the county, culinary itinerary, arts and culture, which we've had before, but we kind of got away from adding that. I'd like to highlight the Glen Falls Arts Trail and the Sembrick and some of those museums that they're advertising in the book, but aren't included in itineraries such that. And then also we're going to do an outdoor adventure to include the new Eagle zip line and the Chester Challenge. So those are just some new design ideas.
And the new bicycle challenge.
And the bike challenge, yeah. Bikes in groups and motor coaches
Yeah, that'd be
sometimes
good,
don't
you're
jive, but I'm trying to get some more like some of the smaller groups who would do the outdoor adventure. I think that would appeal to them. So.
Any questions, Tanya? All right. I don't see Mike here, but I do see, Kristen. Would you like to give a report for the Lake George, region?
So, good morning, well, almost afternoon, everybody. For those of you, I did send out last week on Thursday the CVB report. I also just dropped it in front of the rest of you there. It's 2 pages long, so I'll try and give you kind of a synopsis of where things are and where they stand with the CVB. Over the last month, the CVB has remained very active, and I just want to give you some overview on some of the trade shows, the marketing, and the event outreach that we've got going on. The plans for the Connect Marketplace, which is going to happen in Grapevine, Texas, with the DMO group in August, are progressing, and in an effort to save some future travel costs for the CVB, we're actually adding a second set of appointments for the Connect Marketplace that will be focusing on the specialty market. So what that means is that's the Smurf market, for those of you that are familiar with that terminology. That will include social, military, education, and religious markets, all of which are really strong markets for this area and for this region. That will be in conjunction with the sports marketplace that I will be attending. So I'll be taking appointments then for both of these marketplaces over the course of the 3 days. In looking at the numbers, the marketplace for the specialty is expected to have about 81% of the event planners that will have events open for bid. 71% of those will be looking to book in the Northeast. In the sports marketplace, it's expected that 82% of those event planners will have events open for bid, and 75% will be looking to book within the Northeast. So these are really 2 great opportunities for us to go as a CVB and as to represent this area and this region, and to bring these big meetings and these sporting events and these opportunities and bring those dollars to this area. In preparation for these meetings, I've developed a sports sales kit with specific profile sheets highlighting the different facilities in the area. Those are going to be uploaded to our chamber website over the course of the next couple of weeks. And I'll be actually creating USB business cards. Basically, think of a regular business card with a flip-out USB port on it that I'll be giving out at my appointments that we'll be booking probably about 8 to 10 days prior to the marketplaces. What those will have on there, they'll have the profile sheets on there. They'll be able to be given directly as I'm speaking to these people, and I'll be able to direct them not just to the website, but they'll have that in their hands, so it'll serve sort of a dual purpose. Take it with you, look at it in your room that night, have a conversation piece, really a strong marketing tool. We won't receive the appointments until really right before the show, but I'm anticipating hopefully coming back, having met with approximately 30 to 50 people, hoping for more, and returning with about over 400 potential contacts. That is the potential for taking both of these marketplaces as opposed to just the one. On the marketing and sales side, I'm in the process of developing a new integrated and print digital campaign for the sports specialty, special event, and wedding markets going forward over the next couple of months. It's going to take a little bit of time to build this, but as you'll see, there's some pieces that we're looking at really that are going to try and make an impactful difference in this area. A new meeting and events guide, looking to highlight the various properties in the area and the meeting facilities. This will be a collaborative piece, or it's anticipated to be a collaborative piece with the properties, sort of a co-op as well. It'll be available in print and digital formats, hopefully. A brochure for Festival Commons. Amanda and I met with the mayor, and we're going to be looking to move forward with that to help design that up so that we can really highlight that great space, 2.5 acres. It is going to be with some new imagery, some new content, so we'll be looking to help design the layout and the content of that over the course of the next month. The wedding guide is something that's gonna be brand new, probably looking to push that into the fall at this point. There's one of me and one of Amanda, so between the two of us, we will try to move that forward as quickly as possible, but that is something that really, would also be a collaborative co-op piece, moving into the latter part of this year. And lastly, the sports kit that I just talked about, which is already probably 90% finished, and, will be finished within the course of the next week to 10 days. So I've listed on the report some of the target dates. Some of these are soft dates, and they will be flexible. Ideally, I'd love to get all these pieces done by the end of this year. Some of it depends on timing, some of it just depends on funding. So, looking ahead and seeing what these resources are, what we need to do our job and to move things forward, are gonna be critical. So when I come to you in the next couple of months and we talk about the projected plan and the budget for 2017, these are some of the things that may be on there just to make you aware and moving forward, as I propose the strategic plan, and budget for 2017. In terms of new things coming to the area and some confirmations, the East Coast Brianna Association is coming definitely next year, July 12th through 15th, bringing approximately 200 people. The Northeastern District Barbershop Quartet Harmony Society International event will be May 5th through 7th. Looking at approximately 600 plus or minus. It's a very large event. It'll be happening down Festival Commons. The main hotel will be the Fort William Henry. There'll be some overflow, I believe, at the Marriott and some of the other side hotels as well. And then the ECHL All-Star Hockey game and tournament and festival will happen January 17th through 19th of 2017. Some new business, which actually I'm very excited about, some brand new events coming hopefully to the area. The mayor and I met with a gentleman named Austin Glickman about bringing a law enforcement competition and festival to Lake George next year. We're looking tentatively about May 2017, looking to draw approximately 1,000, 2,000 people over the course of a 3-day period. It would include things like the canine competition, boxing, Spartan physical competitions, motorcycle rodeos, and then family-friendly events such as a parade, barbecue, memorial services, vendors, pipe and drum concerts. So the plans are outgoing. It's a very fluid and really kind of an open-ended planning process right now. They don't have a lot of details set in place, but this is something that they are very excited about. We met with a number of law enforcement in the area. So collaboratively, we're really looking to also disperse this out to places like Glens Falls and Hudson Falls, and so to really include the entire area as a whole, as well as having the festival itself right in the heart of Lake George. I met with the executive director, Scott Hayden, from the Adirondack Folk School, and they are looking to bring a very exciting event to this area, the Artist Blacksmiths Association of North America's conference in 2020. This is a big event that occurs across the U.S., but it is the preeminent blacksmithing event in the world and has attracted attendees from all over the U.S. and 8 foreign countries. So this has a tremendous amount of potential. Scott right now is in the process of writing up a grant. I know he's asked some of you for letters of support with regard to this grant and this event. He may be reaching out to you, so just please be aware that this is something which has a tremendous amount of potential to bring those people to this area as well. Other discussions include the Northeast Bridge Association and tournaments, pro volleyball, primetime lacrosse. Looks like they will definitely be coming back to Golden Goal in 2017. I'm meeting with them on Friday. The U.S. Collegiate Athletic Association, Rev Events lacrosse tournaments, American Booksellers Association, and the National Association of Jewelry Appraisers. These are all ongoing discussions. There's a few other ones in there, but for the essence of time here, I won't continue on. The list is in your report. So overall, we are staying very busy. Lots of great things on the horizon, and want to open up for any questions if you have any questions.
Any questions? Okay. Yeah, have you heard about like numbers from your Lake Georgia area? Are the numbers up, or that's something for Mike?
Yeah, no, Mike and I actually did not connect last week. I meant to connect with him right before he left, so I will get those. I can certainly disperse those out to the group once I get back to the office.
All right.
See what I can get for you.
All right, thank you.
Sure.
Any questions? Huh? All right. Goes to the floor. Floor.
There's a transfer in that, is that something you need? No.
we didn't need a resolution.
All right, anything else on the floor? Motion adjourned? Got it, Matt? We're adjourned.
Okay.
We're gonna do this quickly.